I'm Tig, welcome to week 47 of me documenting my progress as a musician and guitarist. In this video, I'm going to analyze a song that I wrote, recorded and released and show you the entire thought process of just how long sometimes these things sit in your head or come out in different ideas before they get written into a full song. Because the song that I'm about to break down is now 2026 and it's been about 3 years since I had the initial idea for this. So I'm going to show you lots of clips along the way. I'm going to piece together what I can from the puzzle of me having the initial idea, using it in a different context, writing some of it, producing it, doing the lyrics to the point where it's now out on streaming platforms as the first track from my EP called Quarterlife, which I released at the end of last year. If you watched one of these videos before, you know that this is a weekly kind of journal or documentary of what I get up to musically. So you might be wondering, why am I talking about a song that I released 6 months ago? And the answer to that really lies in the question that I'm asking myself, which is, why have I not done this video before? I remember when I first released Quarterlife, it was the last day of 2025. I remember when I released the EP and put Quarterlife out, it was right at the end of 2025 because it was something I kind of swore I would do. It was actually a New Year's resolution, but I did it with like 1 day to spare. And I remember thinking at the time, oh, this would be so great to break down the thought process and the creative elements and the thinking that went into these songs in the next few videos. But then what happened is I put the EP out, 2026 hit, and you can see this if you go back to the videos that I released in January, I just kind of lost complete interest in the music that I just put out because it's like I'd been building and working hours and hours on finishing the writing, recording the parts, producing the thing, going back and forth with my amazing producer Juan to get everything tied up, to as soon as I released it, I thought I was going to be really excited about it. But actually I just wanted to put it behind me and just move on and just take a breather from something that had been really consuming me in the best way for the past few weeks. It took me like 3 weeks to even do the one social media post I did announcing to people I know that I have music out now. But this week, I've been reflecting a lot on the music. I've actually been listening to the EP again more the past week than I have for probably the past 5 months. It's had me thinking about the songs a lot more, and naturally it felt like the right time for me to now go and take this week where I've been thinking about the song a lot to do a bit of an insight into how I created it. So before we get into the roots and the deep history of the song, I'm going to just play you just how the start sounds, just so you have a reference point if you haven't already listened to the song. So this is the final master, this is the final track imported into my Logic music production project where the song was recorded and produced. So let me take you right back to summer 2023, the first inkling of how this song came about. What's funny is that it started with the bass riff, which is unusual because I'm a guitarist. I don't normally come up with the bass riff first. And the reason for that is because I was obsessed with this bass instrumental called The Links by Strawberry Lace, or by their bassist Ryan, that had just released that summer. And it had me playing bass loads, and it had me playing bass in a different tuning to how a bass is normally tuned. Something, again, I would never do as a guitarist and not as a bassist. For reference, let me quickly show you the bass cover. It's about a minute and you'll get an insight into how it sounds and the tuning that we're in. This tuning means the bass strings are even lower than they normally go. And from there, around that time when I was playing the bass while it was tuned to that tuning, it can go a lot lower than it goes normally. And that's what led to the first part of this song being formed, which was the bass line, which I'm going to play to you now. And here it is sounding a bit more finished as well. It goes really low, it hits really hard, it slaps hard. I love it. This is what kicked off the whole song idea, and this is how I ended up having this project just be saved on my computer as a hard bass line, because for years I didn't know what the lyrics were going to be, where the song was really going, and it was a very slow build. Like I said, I started writing it 3 years ago, only released it a few months ago. It all came from that bass line. Now, I then didn't really touch the song for a couple of years, until early 2025, when I was deep in the hole of making short form content, which if you've watched the first video I made, week 1 of this series, I spoke about how I kind of got burnt out making short form content for TikTok, Instagram, etc. because I was doing a style that was like really hard, really high quality and really hard to maintain. And back in early January 2025, I picked up this idea again. I hadn't touched it for like a year, and I used it for making a video. So I'm going to play you the video now. You can see how much work went into producing this just by the amount of different frames and things going on down here. Let me play you the video that then demonstrates a lot of the guitar parts. This was well before I ever decided to fully make it into the song. Like I said, this was January 2025. I remember Christmas 2025, the days building up to the release to this song, I was sitting in Thailand over Christmas, hearing back the mix, which is this track here, from my producer Juan, who had turned it into something amazing. So now I'm going to play you the polished version so you can try and hear the difference. So now let me show you the guitar parts in more detail through this video. I'm just going to remove all this junk first. That's better. Right. This lead guitar line was just something I came up with on the spot for the sake of the video, and then I actually really liked it and kept it in. I think what I like about it is that it just goes a bit crazy. It sounds a bit messy and chaotic, which works because it comes in as soon as all the instruments come in. So it is kind of intended to give that really full-on, everything going on at once feel, because we go from this to this. And then one of my favorite parts is this little reggae choppy guitar. This was very inspired by probably my favorite band of all time, or at least top 3, Sticky Fingers, for their reggae psychedelic sound. So I had to throw that in as a bit of a nod, and it became a really big part of the whole song. It also really feeds into that messy feel of lots going on, because you've got all these different kinds of rhythms in this section. Here's the bass riff in all its glory. You can just hear it pounding. Okay, let's go again. And then this is the underlying guitar riff that sat pretty much through the whole song, or all of the verses. And here it is in the production channel, so you can just hear it on its own now. It's quite melancholy. Another honourable mention would be this line here. Hear the synths in the background as well, giving us some space. Red light, nothing that can stop me. I drove you down into the ground, just so I drown you out. Hoping you will make a sound, forever not around. And then of course we have the lyrics, which is not something I've spoken about on this channel yet. A lot of the time they're more of an afterthought to me. I'm a music first person, but everything that ended up on the EP as a finished song was something that I definitely felt very strongly about and was very proud of at the end. I poured a lot of thought, a lot of energy, and a lot of myself into the lyrics. In this case, this song, most of which I wrote back in 2023 from the standpoint of being very angry, very feeling hard done by. To be honest, feeling pretty fucked over by a previous bandmate who was pretty much responsible for my band ending. And if any of them are watching now, it's in the past now. Made some good art out of it. It's all good. And I'm sure they would understand. Maybe that's a story for another day. But really, the song matches the music, which felt to me quite like angry, quite dark. This is the first time I've ever really spoken about lyrics like this. And even now, it's a bit like, oof, we're going into uncharted territory. I find that I'm quite attracted to songs with this destructive feeling to them. And it's only recently, like I said, I've been listening to the song a lot more recently, that I finally managed to put my finger on what the feeling was on all the songs I like that are like this and kind of the commonalities between them. So if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, I've linked below a playlist on Spotify to about 10 of my favorite songs that match this mood and this feeling. So if you do listen, let me know what you think of them. Let me know what similarities you feel and hear when you listen. But anyway, I think if I had to summarize the biggest feeling and emotion and general feel of the song I was trying to convey, and I think does convey, is really destructiveness. That's really where all the lyrics point. It's what the music backs up. And as we approach the breakdown and final outro of the song, this is really how it culminates, which was the aim, to kind of build up slowly, and then this big peak, biggest release, kind of like the volcano erupting. Now, before the volcano erupts, we have the quiet part building up to it, which I found really hard to nail. And I had to get my producer, Juan, to work some magic, get a lot of ambience going on at the back, as you can hear. You can hear the synths building up there. And if you look at the guitar parts, I just repeated the exact same thing. I was really stuck and I kind of just made a loop. And thankfully he brought it to life with adding all the effects that really made it seamless. And then combine it with the drums here, we really start to pick up. And now we're approaching the point that really makes this song destructive and brings it to that eruption.
You know I tried to move south, had my head in the clouds till you heard to me. Drove us into the ground, now I'm hateful and loud for you personally.
And I'm really peeling back the hood now, and I'm going to play just the vocals on their own, and there's 3 layers deep, so listen to how they sound together.
You drove us into the ground, now I'm hateful and loud for you personally.
So the secret's out, auto-tune is a hell of a drug. I used it so much to get this done. I'm just not a singer by trade, but in this case I did everything myself, so it's great to just have these tools and the technology available to just really brush up on your weaknesses and create something that still sounds great.
You drove us into the ground, now I'm hateful and loud for you personally.
Some of the harmonies I chose were 5th harmonies. In this context, can give it quite a cold metallic sound. If you listen to the end of Personally,
for you personally, loud for you personally. You drove us into the ground, now I'm hateful and loud for you personally.
final way I had to wrap up the song was, of course, with an outro guitar solo. I put this in the video of the week at the time, a few months back when I was recording it. I just made up the solo on the spot. I didn't do any prior takes. I just played the first thing that came out, and I didn't use the first take, but I ended up using the first idea and just doing a couple more takes with it. It was a very free-flowing solo that came to me very easily. Rather than just talking about it, I thought it would be fitting to end the video with actually showing you that. So I'm going to play through that, have the song and video come to a close. You're going to hear that pounding bass riff that we started with fade all the way out with some nice synths in the background, thanks to my producer Juan. If you've enjoyed this video, let me know down below, because this is the first time I've done one like this. I'm going to see how it turns out once I edit it. I may do more with songs like this in the future. Really, this was also pretty self-indulgent for me to talk through the beginnings of the song, how it came to be, some of my favourite parts of it, and hope you enjoyed it too. Before we get into the solo and close out the video, if you enjoyed the video, obviously subscribe. I do these every week. I'll see you on the next one.